Joseph, Moses, all the people of the Bible, they will think that they're European. And that was a tactic that the Roman Catholic Church used as a form of white supremacy over the earth. What we call spiritual white supremacy. But we're going to go into the Bible and show you who are the lost tribes of Israel. And we're not going to blame anyone because we know that God put the 12 tribes of Israel in the state that they are in today. And now the same God is giving their identity back to his people. Let's read Hosea 4:1.
Hosea 4:1. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel.
So the Lord is telling Israel, hear his word. Hear his word, not a doctrine. Children of Israel, hear the word of God, which is the Bible. Go ahead.
For the Lord have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land.
The Lord have a problem with the inhabitants of this land, the people that are living here. He have a problem with this land. Why?
Because there is no truth.
There's no what?
There is no truth.
There's no truth here. We can't find the lost sheep because of all the lies that have been placed before the lost sheep. The lies that are set up in our institutions to keep the lost sheep lost. Read.
Nor mercy.
There's no mercy. Read.
Nor knowledge of God in the land.
And there's no real knowledge of the true God in Christ in this land. We're getting a watered down version of the gospel in this land. We're getting a European spin on the Bible in this land. And through that, the lost sheep have not been found. But they will be found today. Open up your Bible today. Open up your book. Open up your mind, your heart, your spirit. And you're going to find that everything we bring in here from the Most High is 100% fact and true and cannot be disputed. Let's get Colossians 1:26.
Colossians 1:26. Even the mystery which had been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints.
The mysteries that have been hid for ages and for generations are now being made manifest to his saints. All right? So all the mysteries, all the seals that have been put in the book, the Lord is now revealing it to his true saints, those that follow the commandments and teach the true gospel and understanding of Jesus Christ. Those are the saints of the Most High. And the people that he gave his laws, statutes, and commandments to. Let's go to Matthew 10:5-6, starting with Jesus Christ, or whom we ignorantly call Jesus Christ in this land. His name is Yeshua, which means deliverer or savior. Read Matthew 10:5-6. We're going into now breaking down the 12 tribes of Israel, the lost sheep. Read Matthew 10:5-6.
These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles.
These 12 Jesus sent forth. Who are they? The 12 disciples. He gave them an order, a commandment. Go not into the way of the Gentiles. Now we know that later on, the disciples, along with Paul, went to Gentiles. And we're going to give the understanding on that also. But before that commandment was decreed, Christ made this commandment. Go not into the way of the Gentiles. Read that again.
These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles.
Don't go to the Gentiles. Who are the Gentiles? Non-Israelites. People that are not from the chosen seed of the children of Israel. Read.
And into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not.
Go ahead.
But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
He said, I would rather you go unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And he said, don't go into the land of Samaria, because the children of Israel were taken out of the land of Samaria and Gentiles inhabited the land. We're going to prove that. So Christ told them to go to the lost sheep. What makes a people lost? No identity, no natural custom or culture of their own, no land to call their own, no identity, total captivity and slavery. You're lost from who you are. So Christ gave the disciples a commandment to say, listen, I need you to go to the lost of my people, the people who don't know that they are actually from the seed of Israel. I need you to go to them because they're lost. All right? Read Matthew 15 and 24 out of the Bible. See, and we follow Christ. So if Christ said go to the lost sheep, we're going to go to the lost sheep. Now, everyone now is trumpeting Gentile, Gentile, Gentile. That's fine. But how can we ignore that Christ said go to the lost sheep? You just can't go into a Gentile teaching and don't go into who the Israelites are. Even Paul says the Jew first and then the Gentile. You just can't have your teachings based on the Gentiles. That's wrong. That's wrong because the first thing Christ commanded his disciples were to go to those lost sheep. And we're going to find those lost sheep today. Read Matthew 15 and 24.
But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Christ understood who he was sent to. The people that fell from the old covenant. So if they fell from the old covenant, they needed what? A new covenant or a new testament to get back to the Father. All right? Now, let's go into the lost sheep of the house of Israel. How can we identify them in the last days?
How's everybody doing?
All right? Just to give you a brief synopsis of what happened. Solomon, which was king over all of Israel, that's David's father, he sinned with many strange women. He started dealing with the nations that the Creator, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, told him not to deal with. Through that sin, he built groves and built cities to Moloch, which is another god, Satan. The Egyptians took him off, Edomite women took him off, and he ended up sacrificing to the gods that the Most High God told him not to sacrifice to. Through his sin, the kingdom was split in two. Split in two. Northern kingdom, southern kingdom. The southern kingdom, you had Judah. We're going to go into who Judah is and the tribes that were under Judah. The northern kingdom, which is part of Samaria, you had the Indian tribes or the lighter tribes. We're going to go into who they are today and how they got to the land. Now, through this sin, Israel became scattered throughout the earth. That was the beginning of the diaspora. And when they scattered throughout the earth, they had children. And through time, their children lost their identity. All right? Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter, and the 21st verse. Deuteronomy 32 and 21.
They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God.
Why did they become lost? Why did they fall? Because Israel moved God to jealousy, the same God that saved them from the tyranny and hands of the Pharaoh. So Israel started moving God to jealousy with those things which are not God. Started following, if you put it in context today, started following other religions. Read.
They have provoked me to anger with their vanities.
And we provoked, or the Israelites provoked God to anger with their vanities. Started putting up other gods to be him. Forgetting the God that saved them and destroyed the land of Canaan and gave them a promised land. Read on.
And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people.
And because Israel put up a no God for the Creator, he put over them a no people as his people, or another people or a foolish nation to get power over the earth instead of his people. Read that again. The last part.
I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people.
So now the lost sheep is jealous because the people that are physically and spiritually not the children of God is ruling everything you see today. And the lost sheep are in a subservient state, and they're jealous. They work hard and try to get to the top, but never could get there because the Lord put them in a certain condition. Now it's time to biblically, through the Bible, identify those lost sheep that are being oppressed by the nations that the Lord put over them. Let's go to Genesis. We're going back to the beginning now.
Blessings.
Let's go to Genesis. The 49th chapter. The 49th chapter. We're going back to the beginning now. I want you to hold Genesis 49. Hold that, because we're going to hold this place. Make sure you hold that for us, okay? We're going to start off by showing you how the Indian tribes got over here to the Americas. Then we're going to identify them one at a time, along with the tribes of Judah. Let's go to 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, and the 17th verse. 2 Kings 17 and 17. Let's start now. Go ahead.
And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger.
So now, this is how Israel provoked their God to anger. Started sacrificing their children and turning their children over to new God. The same way today. We may worship something, and what we do, bring it home and give it to our children. Be it Christianity, Islam, witchcraft, astrology, Hinduism, whatever. Whatever the parents learn, they bring to their children. Read.
Part
Therefore the
2.
Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight.
His sight is on his holy
Hit
land.
that like
Israel.
button.
Read.
There was none left but the tribe of Judah
Get
only.
this
And when it
knowledge,
says
this
there was
real
only one left
knowledge.
with the tribe of Judah, he was talking about kingship. Don't forget, the kingdom was split in two. Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Rehoboam was the king over Judah. Jeroboam was the king over the Indian tribe. So the only kingship would be left after that split would be Judah, the same tribe Christ came out of. Read on.
Also Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made.
Go ahead.
And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of spoilers.
Delivered them into the Read.
Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them
Blessings.
out of
Hit
his
that
sight.
like
His
button.
sight is
Get
on
this
his holy
knowledge.
land, Israel. Read.
There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
And when it says there was only one left but the tribe of Judah, he was talking about kingship. Don't forget, the kingdom was split in two. Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Rehoboam was the king over Judah. Jeroboam was the king over the Indian tribe. So the only kingship would be left after that split would be Judah, the same tribe Christ came out of. Read on.
Also Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made.
Go ahead.
And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of spoilers.
Delivered them into the hand of spoilers. So you want to know how Israel got so low? He allowed the nations to spoil them and to take their riches, take their power, take their land. Go ahead.
And delivered them into the hands of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight.
Go ahead.
For he rent Israel from the house of David, And they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drove Israel from following the Lord and made them sin a great sin.
Go ahead.
For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam which he did. They departed not from them, until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight. As he had said by all his servants the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day.
They was carried out of their own land unto Assyria as of this day. And you're going to find out that they stayed in the Assyrian captivity for about 3 years. And they took counsel to come over here to the Americas. We're talking about the lost sheep now. How do we know that? In this same Apocrypha, King James Version, which was taken out of the Holy Bible, the Catholic Church took this out of the Bible. This was actually a part of the original Bible. This is 14 books that the churches are being denied. It shows you exactly how the Northern Kingdom got here to the Americas. Go to 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, and the 39th verse. And then we're going into Genesis, breaking down in the latter days how to identify the lost tribes. How did they get here to the Americas? And this is about 718 BC. Okay, 721 BC is when the Assyrians came over and took over the Northern Kingdom, the Assyrians. They stayed in that captivity for about 3 years, to about 718 BC, and they took counsel to come over here to this new world. That's why they call it the New World. Yes, the Indians did not come through the Barren Straits 100 million years ago, or whatever thing they're teaching in college, the fallacies and false teachings that you may learn in these colleges. The Bible tells you exactly how the Indian tribes got here. Now, we know that some Asians did come from the Barren Straits, but they were trading with the Indians that were already here. Read 2nd Esdras 13 and 39.
And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him.
Go ahead.
Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hoshea the king.
These are the 10 tribes that were carried away captive out of their own land during the time of Hosea the king. Go ahead.
Whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
The New World. Go ahead.
But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
They went into a country where no mankind dwelt before that time. So that's a bold-faced lie that people were here in the Americas or in the earth millions and millions of years ago. Okay, that's straight philosophy that's coming from the Gentiles or heathens to distort the truth of the lost tribes. They went through all these different steps, be it schools and religious institutions, to hide who the lost sheep are. The lost sheep is today, to hide who the true people are. Read on.
That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
And they came to keep their statutes, which they didn't keep in their own land. In 2 Kings, the 17th chapter. Read on.
And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river.
Now it's showing you how they got to the Americas. They went through the Euphrates, around Africa, over the ocean. Go ahead.
For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great ways to go, namely of a year and a half.
It took a year and a half. The Lord stilled the waters. He made sure their ships wouldn't wreck. And it took the Indian tribes, or the tribes that the Europeans called Indian, to get over to this new land we're standing in here today. We're sitting here today. The same land we're sitting on today in America, he gave it to those Indian tribes. It took them 1 year and a half to get here to the Americas. And you're going to find out, if you go into Christopher Columbus Diaries, his own memoirs, you're going to find out that in those memoirs, it shows beyond any shadow of a doubt that Christopher Columbus used the Apocrypha in Second Esdras to state his case to the queen that he knew the lost tribes would come over to this land. So all that stuff they thought the earth was flat and all that was a bunch of garbage. They were selling people in the New World. They knew that the earth was round because the Bible tells you the earth is round. But they couldn't find this land because the Lord would shipwreck them before they could get over here. The Lord held the water still for his people so that they can get over here safe. Took them 1.5 years to get here. Read on.
And the same region is called Asareth.
It is called Asareth. What is Asareth? Asareth means hidden land. The Most High hid it from the heathen. It's the new world that was promised to God's people, Israel, who became a lost sheep. We're going to show you how they became parts of the lost sheep. How did they lose their identity? How did they lose their customs, which they promised to keep when they got over here? We're going to show you. You see the movie Apocalypto and all the evil that they started doing, what they were learning, how they were sacrificing their own people. So they started going back into the same evil, then something happened where they lost their identity altogether. But yes, the Indian tribes over here are highly spiritual people, highly spiritual. They just lost their way. So we're about to go into the book of Genesis and break down beyond any shadow of a doubt who are the lost sheep of Israel. Stay tuned. Okay, now we're going to go into Genesis and identify the lost tribes or sheep of Israel. Who are they? We're going into the beginning. Let's go to Genesis 49 and 1.
Genesis 49 and 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
He says, come on, gather together at my bed. Jacob is the father of the Israelites. His name was turned to Israel when he wrestled with an angel. So in old times, or in biblical times, before the father dies, he hands down the blessing and the future of what will befall the children. So he called his children together before he passed and said, come, my sons, I will show you what will befall you in the last days. Now we're in the last days. So he was not talking about those children per se, but the seed of his children. What would be the condition of your children in the last days? This is how we can identify with the lost sheep are according to bloodline. Read.
Verse 2. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father.
Israel, your father. Who are the children of Israel? Read.
Reuben, thou art my firstborn.
Reuben was the firstborn. Now, usually the firstborn inherits, or he's the heir or the heir of the father. He inherits all the blessings. But what happened to Reuben? Read.
Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power.
The excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Read.
Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch.
He slept with his father's maid, Bilhah, and because of that, he lost the promise of the firstborn. But he still had excellency and dignity. When you go into this book, I have a book here that you cannot get because it's out of print now, by Ronald Sanders, called Lost Tribes in the Promised Land. It lets you know when the Spaniards and some of the Jewish, came over to the Americas when the Indians were here, that Reuben in Florida identified themselves as the tribe of Reuben. Now, this was before Reuben lost their identity. And Reuben also identified another tribe, the tribe of Ephraim. I'm going to read a passage out of here, the lost tribes in the promised land. This guy, Ronald Sanders, he actually went into the study trying to debunk the fact that the Indians here in the Americas, he was trying to debunk the fact that they are Israel. He tried to prove that they weren't Israelites. And through his research, going into their camp, grave grounds, going into the history, he found out the contrary. All right? And he took historical documents to put together this book. There's a passage when Montesinos came over here to the Americas, and I'm going to read it. It says, those Indians, he told himself, they are Hebrews. Pondering this thought incredulously, and yet with growing conviction, he resolved that if he ever was released, he would seek out the Indian Francisco and try to learn the truth. So Montesinos was arrested, and he found out that, listen, these guys may be the Israelites. So when I get loose, I'm going to figure this story out. So he came over here. It says, Montesinos' story unclear as to the circumstances of his incarceration is equally unclear as to those of his release. But released he was, and he immediately went to Francisco. Now, Francisco was an Indian, revealing himself as a Jew. Montesinos proclaimed his conviction that Francisco's hidden people were of the same race as he. Would Francisco lead him to them? The two men were soon back in the rugged mountains in which Francisco had made his initial revelation, marching relentlessly for a week before they finally came to a halt. It was a Saturday. That's the Sabbath. Montesinos makes a point of telling us, and they had come to a river larger than the Duero, and there are echoes of the Sabbatean in all of this. Here, Francisco announced, is where your brothers will be seen. Waving a banner high in the air, the Indian guide soon was greeted by a puff of smoke. The smoke signals the Indians use here. Far beyond the other banks of the river, a response of his signal. The two men waited. Eventually, a canoe appeared, bearing 3 men and a woman, all of them Indians, to the place where Francisco and Montesinos were standing at the water's edge. So they communicated a signal to say, come on down. The Indians got in the canoe and made themselves known.
What's going on? Blessings.